Hey, everybody. Welcome back. You're listening to The Blodgett Show. I want to welcome everybody to episode 58. This is Real Talk Tuesday. So, welcome everybody. Once again, I appreciate you guys being here. This is episode 58, Real Talk Tuesday. And I guess tonight's topic is going to be pushing. That's kind of, obviously it's real talk, but I guess the specific topic tonight will be do what you gotta do. So, doing what you gotta do. It's kind of an umbrella topic, I guess. Do what you gotta do. Be the best you can be. Either for people who, it's one of those don't be a doormat kind of, as far as the be there for others, but you also kind of can't just, be there for others and have them not be there for you, because then you just get walked on, you just get taken advantage of. But the kind of the inspiration for me talking about that is like, when you're trying to make efforts to support others, and you don't really feel like, you feel like you're alone. And I'll admit, I'm sure a lot of us can feel it, or a lot of us probably feel that way and stuff, where you're putting forth the effort, trying to hold other people up, trying to make things easier for other people, and you're not really getting, those people in your life, whatever, maybe your friends or family or whatever, and you're not getting the same efforts back. Like one thing that kind of inspired me, and it's not even like I did a little conversation with my one of my best friends, I guess. Was chatting with her earlier, whatever, and I mentioned something that shouldn't be a big deal, but she kind of seemed like it was. Or she did the emoji with the raised eyebrow, whatever, and I was like, what? I was like, oh, the name I used for that, because we named our, to be more specific, we named our Roomba, because a couple, like last week or whatever, when my youngest and I, we hit Goodwill, I think on New Year's Day, actually. It was one of those days that I was really surprised, actually, that, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but, on New Year's, where, like, everything's open, like, it's a federal holiday, and yet everything's open. Whereas when we were growing up, or actually, hell, back, not even growing up, back when, with my first marriage and the beginning of my current marriage, on Christmas and New Year's, both those holidays, places were closed. Employees had the day off, but now it's like grocery stores are all open. Restaurants are open, and it's like, for me, I enjoy the fact that we were running loads, like FedEx employees that unload the trailers and stuff, and then load the other trailers for us to be able to do what I'm currently doing. They have those days off. So then it's weird though, because the day after the holiday, when I normally would run, I don't run because there's no loaded trailers. So it's like, that's a weird thing for me, but at least after Thanksgiving, when I saw how it happened on that holiday, because this is my first year doing this line haul stuff. Before that, I was doing what they call the P&D side, which is basically, I was taking empty trailers to locations and I was bringing loaded ones back. So you basically would do a swap, what they call a same door swap, where so I drop the empty in their yard, I pull the loaded one out of the door, I then hook up to the empty again and put the empty back in their door, drop it, and hook back up to loaded, dispatch myself, take off to go back towards the Mount Juliet. Wasn't a hard job. Those are pretty easy pickups. The only problem was I would do like 7 of them in a day, and so by the end of the day, like, you're feeling it because you've gotten in and out of the truck. You figure 2 trailers per pickup, so you got in and out of the truck at least twice, if not more than that. So you got in and out of the truck at least 14 to 20 times a day. So after my fall back in February, I had to make. That's why I switched to doing what I'm doing right now, because I'd rather get loaded, drive for 4.5, 5 hours, do my swap up here in Illinois, and then get back on the road, drive 4 or 5 hours to get back to Nashville. You know, so I'm doing a little bit of physical work, but I'm doing most of the driving, which is how I like it. You know, so it's one of those things. Like, and let's see, you gotta try to not ramble too much and try to stay on topic as much as possible. But you know, got a lot going on in my head, so I apologize if I jump around a little bit. But so I was talking to this friend of mine, and I won't mention names. I won't mention the names because, you know, I know we're really close. We're pretty much like, we do the whole, oh, bestie, blah, 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 you know. Before her, I was like, nah, I usually didn't use the term bestie. I would say, oh yeah, she's one of my best friends, but, you know, I guess the word bestie started getting put around there, so I guess we're besties. Which is cool, you know. But earlier I'd mentioned, what I was mentioning about going to Goodwill. Me and my youngest, we found a Roomba, one of those little remote vacuums, the little round vacuums that will just go around and vacuum on their own. Found one that actually, it had the charger, and apparently, because I bought one before from Goodwill, we had to take it back, so we tried to charge it for a week, and we could never get it to turn on, so apparently, like, it had been donated, and it was, like, dead. So we brought it back, and we happened to find another one, and this one was an actual Roomba. Like, the other one was it was a robot vacuum, but it wasn't the official brand. One of the knockoffs, I guess. Found the Roomba this time, and literally, like, me and my kiddo, we saw it, we ran right towards it. I was like, holy crap. She was, oh yeah, we gonna get it, Dad? I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. I was like, let's go find a plug, see if we can plug it in and see if it turns on here at the store. And see if that, you know, if it works, we're gonna totally get it. 'Cause it was the same price as the other one, like 10 or 15 bucks for Roomba, which is like, hey, cool. But something funny over the New Year's weekend, you know, because I had an extra day off, so I just not only Sunday and Monday, but I had Tuesday off because you know, no loads to run. So Monday night and Tuesday, or like early Tuesday morning, I literally I'm sitting downstairs and my phone goes off, and it's my kiddo calling me from upstairs. So I'm answering the phone like, "Why are you calling me? Like, why are you calling me from upstairs?" She goes, "What are we naming the Roomba?" I just randomly started spouting out names. I was like, Timothy. She was Timothy. I was like, Bob. She's like, Bob. I'm like, George. And I was like, click. Because, you know, being the dad, being the booth, she was like, okay, click. I guess she took Timothy because and I didn't know she was going to do it, but she took that piece of the white tape, and there's a piece of tape on the back of the Roomba, and it says Timothy on it. So I guess we're calling the vacuum Timothy. And this friend of mine, her fiance's name is Tim. And when I jokingly said Timothy to my daughter, I wasn't thinking about, you know, this friend's fiance or whatever. It was just kind of like I was enjoying my drinks, so I was kind of like feeling the buzz quite a bit, you know. And I was just randomly like, I'm the kind of drunk when I'm on my days off. But like, there's some people that when they drink, they get courageous, like they start fights because they, you know, or they'll call people they wouldn't normally call. Or they get they're angry drunks. I don't know what I mean. You know, got the email out there, guys. You know, blogdishowpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to shoot me a line and tell me what kind of drunk you guys are. But and I wish I could do comments on these episodes or whatever. Kind of like how people did like a YouTube channel. People can comment on the videos. But in a way, sometimes it might be a good thing that there can't be comments, because I know that, you know, if it's something that people like get pissed at somebody about what their video is, and they have like negative reviews, and that's why you always hear, don't read the comments, don't read your own comments. But so you know, me, I'm one of those like happy, I don't give a shit drunks. You know, like not necessarily happy drunk, but the laid back, relaxed, like I don't care, I'm good, you know, that kind of drunk. You know, because it literally mellows me out. Like I'm not things that normally would bother me. I'm like, okay, I still have those problems, but I'm not thinking about those right now. They're not weighing heavily on me because I'm just laying them on the side, and I'm not thinking about them right now. So that's where I was at, and then so that's why when I was giving her a little name suggestions, she, she took Timothy, and so today I'm talking to my friend, just chatting with her, whatever, when I'm hanging out before work. I heated up something small, whatever. Actually, I just kind of not really played around with it, but you know, when you get a new device, and so you try to figure out how it works. So like being a recent diabetes diagnosis, I finally got my doctor was pretty pissed when I had to follow up with her on Wednesday or whatever, because she asked like, what have your glucose readings been looking like this past month? And I was like, well, she gave me a meter when I had my first appointment with her a little over a month ago. After my primary care diagnosed me, he referred me to her because she's the endocrinologist, blood doctor, I guess. And she gave me a meter, but I guess the meter she gave me, the strips and the little lancets, the little needles that come with it, it didn't have the strips of the meters, or the strips of the lancets. And when I went to go see how much they are at the pharmacy, because apparently you can have them prescribed, but then insurance doesn't really cover that, which kind of sucks. So the lancets and the strips for that particular brand of glucose meter, fucking expensive, man. And when you're on a budget, when you're doing what we're doing and basically paying $2,000 in rent, and we're got other bills, other accounts that we've been behind on for a while, that we're been working on trying to get those caught up and stuff and get those on track so we can go 12 months. Because we got, basically the plan is we can get approved for a mortgage and get out of our fucking apartment finally for once and for all, but we have to have 12 months of clean history. Like the lender that I talked to doesn't go off because they can give me a VA loan and they don't require a credit score. They just require that you have 12 months of clean history. And when I talked to them about that, I was like, all right, does that include collections, or is that just like open accounts? Because no, we don't care about collections. We only care about active accounts. As long as there's nothing reporting late for a 12-month period, we can get you approved for VA loan. I'm like, really? Okay. Well, the problem with that is there's at least 2 accounts that I've been behind on for a minute, and those have been the ones that have been holding us up, and I've been working on paying those down to actually get those where they're current, so we can then say, okay, now we just have to do our best for the next 11 months or so after the current to then be mortgage ready, so we can get a house and stop paying, rent, pretty much. Start building equity, in your property instead of paying to live somewhere and not having anything to show for it. Because, so. But when we're having we're just chatting and I'm hanging out, and I jokingly had sent a little video of I blocked off the front room, and I was sitting there on my recliner, and because I blocked it off so that way the vacuum wouldn't go out of that room and into the kitchen or in the front door. I thought, I'm going to start it here so that it can get the floor in here looking pretty good. This weekend, I want to take it back up in our room, have it go back up and down our little hallway in our room down towards our bathroom, because we have a litter box down there, and the cats are messy, so of course litter gets on the floor. And when I used it up there before, I made sure it kept going over the same area and litter gets tracked. And that carpet has been a lot cleaner, but I think it's starting to accumulate again. So I got to take it back up there and let it spend 10 minutes going back and forth or whatever. But I sent a little video on Messenger showing Timothy going around and vacuuming the floor, and basically I was like, yep, just hanging out here, heated up some food and letting Timothy work on the front room. And of course I got the raised eyebrow, and I'm like, what's the face for? I'm like, oh, the name. She goes ding ding ding. And I'm like, so what, we can't use the name Timothy for something because your fiance's name is Tim? Like, it's not related. It'd be like me calling the vacuum her ex's name or something. I'm like, it's literally just I said literally the kiddo called me and asked me, what should we call? And I just randomly started spouting off random names that came to mind. And Timothy was the first thing that came to mind. It was more of a joking. Timothy! Bobby! Jared. You know, random names. You know, Sally Sue! But it's like, so as far as the, you know, then all of a sudden she was quiet. And I was like, are we okay? Like, there was literally had nothing to do with your fiance. Like, it was just, we were just randomly coming up with a name for the vacuum. Like, I don't know what the problem. No response for a while. Then it was BRB, you know, be right back. Like, okay. And then I left to go to work. And then about 40 minutes ago, about like 8:45, after been like, for me, it's basically been like 5 hours, but, you know, suddenly she's like, hey, sorry. I was like, oh, hey. You know, and it's like, well, I watched the movie, whatever, and I didn't have my earbuds or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. You could say I kind of was like, so now I'm kind of, you know, we're chatting back and forth, but I basically sent her some voice clips like, look, I was like, BRB usually means be right back. I was like, but then you didn't come back for like 5 hours. Now all of a sudden you're just wanting to chat like there's nothing wrong. Like, okay, like you kind of blew me off earlier, so I'm like, now I'm here, but I'm not really in a talking mood because of earlier. So I was like, you could have said, like, it's one of those, like, if you're chatting with a friend or whatever, and you know, you tell them be right back, like, you know, it would have made more sense if you're not going to be around for a while. Hey, I've got some stuff to do. I'll be back later. Like, all right, cool. Or be back later, not be right back, you know. Someone says be right back, you're going to be right back, you know. Not that it's a big deal, but then you come back and then you want to talk, and I'm like, I don't want to talk now. Fuck you. Just kidding. I wouldn't be like that, but that's kind of what would go through my head a little bit. Like, wait, you didn't want to talk earlier. Why should I talk now? You know. But moving on from that, you know, that didn't like, you know, rub me the wrong way. You know, I know what you're talking about. But moving on from that, moving forward, or you know, like, do what you gotta do. So, especially that's medical too. Like, for instance, when I told you guys that I had gotten in there and I had a diabetes diagnosis and stuff, apparently we have an app with my doctor's office. So any results, I'm able to actually log in there and see the results myself, which is pretty cool. I've never had that before. Like previous clinics, I would have to call them and be like, hey, how'd everything look? Oh, everything looked good. I'm like, did you guys check for diabetes and all? Oh shit, we didn't do that. Can you please do that? Because that's part of why I wanted to do the physical, so that way I can make sure I'm not a diabetic, that I'm still good. And they're like, okay, yeah, we have your blood, still have your blood on file. We'll run a test. We'll check it. All right, cool. Like, yeah, you're not diabetic. All right, sweet. But then this year, you know, when I started having the vision issues, where I went and got glasses, even though I haven't been using them because my vision went back to normal. You know, went in and had the physical, and got the blood work done, and basically received that diabetes diagnosis because my A1C was like way high compared to what it should have been. I didn't know what the other results were until a couple weeks later, after I was on metformin for 2.5, 3 weeks. I met up with the endocrinologist. She upped my dose of the metformin, and then she wanted to run blood work again to see where we were at. As far as she said, your liver numbers were extremely high in the liver damage or liver disease level. And I'm like, oh crap. That's where we, you know, we're talking about like, well, you gotta be like, we might have to do treatments because like we gotta catch it now because it's dangerous levels right now because it's above where it should be, and we don't want you to get to the point where you gotta do dialysis or whatever or stuff like that. And I'm like, she goes, so I'd recommend not drinking at all. And I'm like, well, fuck. She's like, what? Like, I was like, ma'am. I was like, ma'am. Part of my routine on the weekend when I'm off on the weekend is basically I enjoy drinks. You know, I was like, I'm not doing hard stuff as much anymore, like Fireball stuff. More like Mike's Harder and margarita, you know, sugar-free margarita mints, and like my light Yearling. Yeah, no, so you might not, you know, go Yearling, oh my god. But for me, that's always been my go-to beer-wise. But I've done other stuff like Coors Light, Miller Lite. I do not do Bud. Never been a fan of Bud. But hey, if you like Bud, great. Go for it. I think what matters is that those of us that are beer drinkers, that we have a beer that we like. Like, we can go out to have a beer together. You can have your Bud. I'll have my Yingling. We'll clean glasses or whatever, and be like, cheers. That's what matters, guys. It doesn't matter if I like your beer, if you like mine. It matters that we'll have a beer together and hang out, right? Chill out. But not that I go to bars anyway. I'm usually drinking at home. I like the idea that I don't have to worry about how to get home. Or my friend Christina, that I haven't talked to in a bit, connected with her on Facebook, but she's finally found her significant other, which is awesome. But back in the day when she was still not with anybody, and of course I was married, but we were just friends. But I would go up to PA with take a load up to PA, and sometimes I'd have to do a 34-hour break up in PA. And I need to meet up with my buddy Dave, who's working on a fellow writer, working on his own book. And whenever I would meet up with him, I'd meet up with Christina, and basically she'd pick me up at the truck stop. We'd go hit a bar and grill, be there for a couple hours. Like, I just literally would go through quite a few drinks, make sure I brought a decent amount of some money, would be like $150 whatever dollars or whatever, so I could eat some food, drink lots of, because drinks at the bars are going to be they're going to cost a little bit, so got to have enough money to make sure you can pay for it. But I do some shots, do some beers, grab some food, hang out with her or whatever. She'd drink a little bit, but not much, because since she was the driver, but we just hang out talking or whatever. And then she dropped me back off at the truck stop, but while we're hanging out at the bar, though, I would have occasions where I would get to the point where you've had quite a few drinks, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I gotta pee. Like, my eyes are yellow, I gotta go back, holy crap. And I would get in the bathroom is quite a ways away from, because it's a big restaurant, like bar and grill, whatever. So the restaurant or the restroom is like quite a ways away from the main location, from where you're sitting at the bar. So I would very carefully get up from the bar stool, make sure I was steady on my feet as much as possible, and I would start walking towards the back to go around the big counter, and then through a little billiards section that has like the pool tables and the games and whatnot, and making my way towards the bathroom and telling myself the whole time, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, telling myself, don't trip. And I would make it to the bathroom, do what I gotta do, wash my hands, and then same routine coming back to the chair, right foot, left foot, focus. That's that was fun times back there. And then getting back to the truck stop, and like you get dropped off at the front, and the parking lot where all the trucks are parked is way in the back, and so I had to walk through this big ass truck stop building, stopping at the bathroom again, and then making my way out to the lot, and making my way very carefully out to my truck, and basically closing the curtains and go to bed, because it's like, all right, I'm done. Would only be able to do that on 34-hour breaks, because you're parked for that long, so it's not like you're gonna get in trouble for it. But hey, so so I've always enjoyed. That's always been my go-to, drinking on my days off. Because what can I say? Even though I love my job, I love what I do. There's a lot of stress in general, not necessarily just because of the job, but just life in general. Mostly for me, it's probably financial, and a little bit of stress is at home. Just try to all the weight of everything, try to carry or whatever, try to handle everything, and try to make sure everybody's okay. And, while not really feeling like, I mean, I know there are people in my life that will check on occasion, like, hey, are you okay? How's everything going? And I'm like, most of the time I'm good. There's some times where it gets a little too heavy, and I'm like, I'm not good today, but I'm sure I'll be fine. But part of that is, as far as like, dude, what you gotta do is kind of like, what I'm doing right now, being committed to doing these episodes, and now being dedicated and committed to the writing, because I mean, for those of you, if you guys have been tuned in, hopefully you guys have been tuned in the past 2 weeks on the brand new Storytime Fridays. You know, those are stories written by me that I'm sharing with you guys. Something, it's basically something that I thought I would change things up with this podcast, with this show, to make things a little bit more entertaining. Instead of having Real Talk all the time, like Tuesdays and Fridays, I'd do Real Talk on Tuesday, and I'd have the Storytime Friday. And the stories are going to get even, like the upcoming stories are even better than the last two. A little bit longer, a lot more substance, substance to them. And you know, so looking forward to that. But anyway, talking to the doctor, and she was like, "Well, you probably have like one drink." You know, but I would recommend like the levels that your liver is at. Like it's gonna, you know, if you drink, it's only gonna make things worse. So I'm going, well, fuck. Okay, you know. But then she's like, "But we're gonna run blood work and we're gonna see where it's at." Like, okay. So she did blood work, and then I waited. My thought process was, if the doctor, like, if the results come in, the doctor says, "Yeah, you need to not do anything, so we can let your liver heal or whatever." You know, but you can have liver issues because of diabetes as well. What I've read online, that if your blood sugar's out of whack and you can have vision issues, which is what I experienced. And they say usually that's irreversible, that once you have vision issues, it never goes back. I'm like, well, mine went bad and then mine went back to normal, so I was able to do my thankfully I was able to do my DOT physical recently and get a new medical certificate, you know, that you got to carry on you as a professional driver. For those of you car drivers that don't drive trucks, those of us that have CDLs, we have to do a DOT physical at least once a year. If you have like sleep apnea or whatever, it's like once a year. But if you get the right doctor, you can get it for a 2-year card, which up until this year, I had a doctor that was giving me a 2-year card every time, so it was pretty awesome. But then I guess he's no longer doing them, so now I had to go back to one of the Concentra clinics. And now I'm back to a 1-year card, but I'm like, oh well. I was just happy the fact that my vision had gone back to normal, and I was able to go and do the physical and pass it, so that I could actually keep working on my health, but not be out of the job or have to go work an hourly job, make it less. You know, kind of like to not go backwards. I'm all about moving forwards. So, but I had figured when she did that blood work, which I had a bruise on my arm for probably a few days, because they took probably like a dozen vials of blood. So I had that fucking needle in my arm for what felt like 10 minutes. And I wasn't looking. I'm one of those, like, I can get stuck. I'll look away. Like, I don't look at the needle in my arm. I don't watch I mean, I did see them do a couple of the vials, because I would glance over and look to see how many vials they did. I'm like, holy crap, they've done a lot. And every time they would connect another vial to the needle that was in your arm, they have to press it against it so you feel it press into your arm a little bit. I'm like, it fucking hurts. But, you know, she finally got everything done, and then, like, it didn't bruise right away, but it was probably like a day or two later, all of a sudden I had this little gray patch right where the needle was, and I was like, that sucks. And so she did blood, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna base my weekend routine, I'm gonna base it off of what the doctor tells me after she gets all those results. And if she had said, like, yeah, your liver's bad, you know, it's still bad, you need to not drink at all, we need to look at look at treatment options, I would be like, okay, you know. But a couple days later, I got basically a message on the app, you know, from the doctor saying that you're a little bit deficient in vitamin D. I recommend over the counter for those. Everything else looks good. Or all their labs look good. I'm like, all right, cool. So I thought, well, I'm not changing anything. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, because, you know, things must be improving, and she didn't tell me, yeah, you look really bad, we need to do something. So then when I saw her this week, you know, I had to get another round of the shots, the weight loss shots that are meant for, I guess, people take it for weight loss, but I guess their primary focus is supposed to be for diabetic patients, from what I hear. And then insurance companies won't cover them unless they have a diabetic diagnosis. They won't cover it for weight loss right now, even though I'm told that they're working on that. And that's upcoming because a lot of people use it for weight loss. I did at one point before I was technically a diabetic. I used a Wegovy for a bit. Had it for 6 months on a little coupon card. I was able to pay $25 a month, and I was actually losing weight pretty good on it. And then I got to where I was trying to refill it after like 6 months, and suddenly the price went up to like $1,200. I said, well, I guess I'm stopping. But so we've been doing an appeal process through insurance to get the shot approved because there is a diagnosis. But it was taking a minute, so she gave me another trial pack for another 4 weeks. And she was like, and your liver levels were still really high last time, but they had gone down, but they were still really high, and I want to do another, just a small blood work to check that again to see where we're at. Because I really worry about that. So I'm like, okay. So I was worried too. So they did those. Thankfully, it was only like one vial this time. And then after they pulled the vial, the needle out of my arm and wrapped the little bandage around, I was like, wow, that was quick. Because like last time I was here, you guys took like 12 vials. She goes, yeah, it's a real quick one today. I'm like, so results popped up on my my app, and it showed like out of 100. So I guess it showed like a 93 or something. And it said, and then of course down below it says normal range is 1 to 48. So I thought, oh crap, I'm really high. I'm probably gonna hear from her like, yeah, like we need to make some more adjustments, blah blah blah. But then I was googling, and I guess it was like 1 to 48. I guess like normal, but as long as it's below 100, you're good. Anything above 100, you're at risk of like liver failure, liver damage, liver disease, whatever. So I was like, oh shit, okay. So I was expecting the worst, and I was already immediately Googling like, is there supplements I could take to help the liver? Is there things I could take before I drink on the weekend that might help? That could make it so that anything I do might not be quite so damaging if that's the case. But then like I got a message from the doctor on that app. And I log in there and look, and she goes, basically it said, liver results, or liver numbers have very much improved. Regards, blah blah blah, and signing off, doctor, whatever. So I was like, huh. I was like, really? Because I was like, it looks like I'm at the top end of what technically is okay right now. But so I went back through all the other results of the different labs that we've done, like back when I first got established with my primary care provider, and I brought up that particular thing that it's like ALT or something is what I guess is what the acronym for the liver test or whatever to check your enzymes. The very first blood work that my regular doctor did, my liver numbers were like 160 when it's supposed to be below 100. I was like, oh shit. And then the one that she did, the blood work she did, where she did a dozen vials or whatever, about 15 days later, when I had my first appointment with her, it had gone down a little bit. It was like 147, so it was down like 13 points or whatever. So it had improved, but then she upped my dose of like my metformin, and then of course I got on the shot, and now I'm going from 147 to 93. So I guess I'm like, oh, okay. So even though for me I thought, wow, that looks really bad still, I'm looking at the comparison between the other blood draws. I'm like, oh wow, okay, yeah, I have improved. So maybe if I just keep doing what I'm doing, keep taking the meds she wants me to take, keep the shot, well, now I'm officially testing my blood because I got a cheap meter from Walgreens last night that got delivered today. I got a meter, got a little Lancet device, or Lancer device that you put the little needles in there to prick your finger or whatever, and then I got test strips. So I did my first prick and test this afternoon, and that was a funny thing while I'm doing that. The wife was standing there because I'm trying to figure this shit out. And I'm thinking that the part that pricks your finger has a little dial that says 1 through 5. So I'm thinking that basically what I thought was that it's gonna have 5 lenses in there, and you select which one. Like you do number 1 first, and then after you use that one, you pop it out, and you switch over to 2 and then 3. But I guess no, the numbers are how high the needle will come up. Like how, so if it's 1, it's not gonna come up very much. So it might not stick you that much. But then it's used a little bit more in 5. Obviously, if you have like real calloused fingers, so I put it in 5. And then the wife, when I was doing it the way that the doctor showed me, I was doing it on the side of the finger, and she's like, "No, you gotta do it on the pad." So I did it on the pad, and of course that I had it on 5, so I still feel the little tenderness in my finger from when I pricked it, because I did the click, and I was like, "Ow!" The wife's like, "Yeah, it sucks." And I'm like, "Yeah, I wonder," but yeah, the diagram shows on the side of the finger, so I'm probably not gonna do the pads anymore. But so did that, and got my readings for that first thing, which wasn't bad. And I have the meter little kit out here with me. Figure I'm gonna do it before I go ahead and heat up my food out here to check what I'm at. And then probably before bed. Well, I mean, I'm doing a little bit more today than I'll probably do on a regular daily basis. But since this is my first day that I've actually done it, so I figure I'm gonna check it before I eat, and then probably pull over about an hour and a half, 2 hours after I eat. I'm on my way back to Nashville, pull over really quick and do it again, just to kind of get a baseline. Like, okay, this is after a meal. Like, what am I at? Because the doctor, when she checked it on Wednesday, basically it told me that because my sugar level was good. She goes, "Well, if your sugar level remains good, I'm okay with you doing like once a day. Just change it up. Like one day do it right after you wake up, one day do it after your meal or whatever, after you eat, to kind of like get a range." I'm like, all right, cool. I could do that. But so earlier this week, before she messaged back, I'm thinking that I'm gonna either quit drinking, which is gonna suck because that's how I let loose, unwind on my days off. But then being told that actually liver function is much improved, blah blah blah. Okay. So I asked, like, "Hey, is there any like supplements out there that can help?" And she, that could help make the numbers better. And she basically was like, "Well, reach out to your primary care for your liver questions and stuff." She's like, "All right, cool." So I guess right now I don't have any like doctor's orders. You must give this up, because I've been doing what I'm doing the past month, and my numbers have actually gotten better even with that. So that's what I told her when I first had that appointment a month or so back. I told her, I was like, "Yeah, I drink on my days off, but I don't drink anything really. I don't really go hard at it. Like I get a buzz, but I'm not hitting the heavy liquor. Even though I will do Fireball on occasion, but I've been trying to be better. So I've been doing the Mike's Harder, been doing the margarita light, the sugar-free margarita mix, and then the light beer to go easy on the carbs. The worst part about that stuff is probably the Mike's Harder, because I haven't been able to find the ones I like in sugar-free, so it's full sugared ones. But then the other stuff is light carbs, light sugar. So, but still gonna look for supplements and stuff. Thinking that that'll help out. Anything that could help out, whether it's essential oils or supplements or whatever, to better my numbers or strengthen things, even while I'm doing the things I gotta do. Because the way I look at it, like it's a hobby of mine when I'm off that I don't want to have to quit. Even though I'll have that debate between me and my wife, where when I had that appointment, she's like, "Did you tell her how much you drink on the weekend?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." She said, "That's actually not too bad." She said, "Liver-wise, it might be good if you don't drink at all, but she goes, but the things that you are drinking and the amount is not that bad. I've actually heard of a lot worse." I'm like, "Yeah, see, because I don't like to get shit-faced drunk and basically forget what I did the night before. I like to be drunk, but and I can't do it all the time because I'm a driver. So it's like it's only when I'm off. But so." That's what I'm talking about, guys. Doing what you gotta do and stuff, and like whatever even if it's things you gotta do to kind of like let loose, unwind. If I was talking about Puerto Rico earlier, because he's dealing with some shit. You know, I think life has been pretty stressful for him lately. And I was like giving him suggestions, like, because he started a podcast, but sounds like he's gonna shut it down, which is kind of unfortunate. 'Cause his podcast is pretty awesome, but he just can't bring himself to he doesn't have the drive to do it because of where he's at in life. So I'm like, well, that makes sense. So I'd say, like, well, bro, why don't you write like your songs, or just write, in general, like do what I'm doing? Because I was like, I've noticed that it's been really easy for me to focus on my writing, especially when thinking about like when you think about the stress and the tension and the not really negative feelings, but the tension inside of you, because of like the way life's going. Like, you're stressed about money, you're stressed about whatever, or you're uptight about such and such because you're worrying about this or that. I put that into when I'm writing my stories, I just let it flow. And my goal has been to write a book for a while. Like back in 2010, I think I mentioned to you guys that back in 2010 I started to write a book. I didn't write anything ahead of time to, like ideas or whatever of character names, where I wanted to go initially. I did a little bit, but most of it I just literally just sat down and I just got on my computer, which was crap at the time. Kind of why I didn't complete it was because I had a crap computer that you'd write for a little bit, you have to stop and let the paragraphs catch up to you. So I was like, well, shit, okay, but and I didn't know, I had never read all the way through what I wrote back then, so I felt like it was pretty good based on what I remembered writing, but I had actually gone through it. So like recently I had a 3-day trial on this app called Speechly, I think. And I thought, okay, I'll give the 3-day trial. Give it a little bit of a try there. And so you're able to upload text documents to it, like Microsoft Word or whatever, and have it actually verbally read, like an audiobook. They read the document to you. And it has like celebrities that you can pick out to have like their voices be the ones reading it to you, which is pretty awesome. So for that story, because I was like, well, while I'm listening to some of these documents that either a friend wrote or I wrote or whatever, I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna upload my book from 2010. It's like 120 pages or whatever. And I'm gonna listen to that. I'm gonna so that way I can kind of remind myself where I was going with it. Maybe decide like if I want to build on that, or if I want to just take some ideas from that and work from there. And so for pretty much a day and a half, I was listening to that. And I was recording that on voice clips, and was sending that to my friend Kirsten. Kind of like, hey, this is what I wrote back in 2010, blah blah blah, and she was, of course, she's like, I'm all caught up. Oh my god, this is great. She's able to do like max like 30 minutes on a voice clip. So I would record, and I would hit pause before the clip was gonna end, and I would send the clip, and then I would hit record again, and I would hit play, so that we'd be, well, basically I would record and I would send it. So she was a little ways behind me, but basically I was trying to record as up to date as I could, So just pulling in here to the truck stop, and the team, of course, are running a little bit late, so I probably got like 30 minutes till they get here, so time to put myself on do the yard move, so that way I can just be working on my 30-minute break, so they can, by the time they get here, hopefully I can just swap and go, But plus, can't go too much longer on this episode anyways. We're already at 44 minutes, so I'll try to close it out here shortly for you guys. But so I was listening to my story. We're talking like, at the pace that I was having. Shit, I can't think of the celebrity name. It's the lady that was in Iron Man that was his assistant. So yeah, I can't think of the name. I'm drawing a blank. But so with her reading and me having to like, because initially it was really fast. She was like, "Once upon a time, blah, 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 blah." Oh crap, that's way too fast. So I slowed it down to like 1 point, whatever. And then she was reading it more normal, like, "Once upon a time, there was this happened, and they said this, and they said that." Like, okay, this is not bad. Still, it had a time remaining on it. It was like 6 hours. So being that I do a 4.5, 5-hour trip up here, it was pretty easy to go through that whole thing in like one round and a half, one trip and a half, because I did it for a good portion of coming up, and then a little ways going back, and then I did it for a little bit when I started the next day, and basically I got to the end of it and went, oh crap, I didn't go any further than that. It sucks. But the whole time I'm like, wow, like I'm surprised. Like I remembered writing this, but I had never read through it. And then listening to my own story, I was like, wow. I mean, I was hooked. I was like drawn in, and she was like, Kirsten was like, oh my god, like this is awesome. Like I'm not. It takes a lot for me to. Like I'm not. It takes. I guess she says I'm not always sucked into books like this. But like this is like I've been hooked. Like from the first 30 seconds, I was cool. Well, I was like, I really appreciate the feedback, because I was like, didn't know how well I did until I've been listening to it with you, and now I'm like, I think I might keep this and have to like, build on this, because I've already got a good book started, good chunk of a book started, so might as well just figure out how to work on it and add to it and stuff. So, but yeah, I did I did the first 3, literally on day 3 of the 3-day trial of that Speechly app. It's like $130 for the year after the 3 days. I was like, yeah, I don't have that right now, so I'm just gonna use 3 days, listen to as much as I can during those 3 days, and then basically cancel my subscription. And when I'm able to, after listening to that stuff, I'm basically planning to go ahead and do the subscription, because the app is awesome. Like I love being able to do that. It let me be able to actually go through my buddy Dave the things that he's worked on so far with his book, because he sent it to me, but I hadn't had a chance to sit down and actually read, because I could listen to stuff or I get on the computer and write, but getting down to actually read something, it's gonna take a little bit. I was like, yeah, I couldn't find the time to do it. I was, I'm like, I'll admit laziness a little bit, But when I had the app, I uploaded his things, part 1 and part 2, and I went ahead, was able to listen to those, and we were able to talk on the phone afterwards. I'm like, dude, your story's awesome. Like, thanks, man. So what'd you think? Like, any feedback? Like, what? Did you catch such and such? And like, yeah, I love that part, man. I was like, there were parts that were like, literally had me tearing up, and then you had parts that I was laughing my ass off. And he was like, well, that's kind of what I was going for. I was like, sweet. So, it's just one of those things. Like, it'd be real easy right now to let the depression and laziness or whatever, negative feelings, whatever, get the better of me, and be lazy pretty much, and not actually sit down and work on stuff. But I figure if I don't do what I'm currently doing, like these episodes with the podcast, if I don't sit down and stay committed to my writing like I'm doing, I'm gonna just basically be resigning myself to being out here in the truck doing what I do probably for the next 30 years or whatever. And I like the possibility. It's like, how I always say, you gotta have hope. And so, I like being able to sit back, do what I do out here, but also do the podcast, work on my writing. Hell, I've got songs written on my computer that I wrote back before Allie and Alex came back home. Then I just have to figure out how to put them to music and actually because figure out what the lyrics are going to sound like, so what can I say, aspiring writer, aspiring, song artist. But at least right now I'm working on the writing part, as far as getting stories out there, putting ideas together to continue my book that started back in 2010, which I didn't think, I'll admit, like I said earlier, guys, I didn't know if I was going to use use that, and I have friends that I talk to, like Rico and whatever, and suggested, like, well, I mean, like, use parts of it, but, like, you're a different person than you were back then in 2010, so, you know, where you were going with it back then may not be where you go with it now. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know, so, but then listening to it this week, I'm like, you know what? Actually, damn, that's pretty badass. Like, I didn't realize it was as good as it was. I didn't think it was as good as it was until I listened to it and went, damn, okay, surprised even myself. So, I'm looking forward to getting that finished. That's gonna be a pretty badass thing, and I can already see, based on where it's all headed in that story, I can already see where it could potentially be sequels to that, like continuation books after that book. And I'm like, well, that's part of my dream, you know, not just be an author, but be a successful author and possibly have more than one thing out there, you know. So that's part of where the topic for tonight, the do what you gotta do, you know, because it's one thing to have dreams. They always say, someday I'm gonna have this, someday I'm gonna have a house, someday I'm gonna have a business, someday I'm not gonna have to worry about money, whatever. But then if you keep going and going about your daily life, doing the same old stuff, and never changing it, never trying it something new, never working on something else, you're always gonna be in the same spot. It's like the definition of insanity. I believe that's what they say is the definition for insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So basically, in order to make things happen in your life, to make positive changes, you gotta, well, you know what they say, you gotta be the change, you know? So like, if you want positive changes to happen in your life, you gotta be the one to actually go out there and make it happen. Like, you gotta make a plan, you gotta sit down and figure out what you gotta do, and then you gotta actually go out there and do it, you know? Because otherwise, you're just going to be working, like, you'll be doing the same thing you're already doing, and it's never going to change. So anyway, guys, on that note, I think that's a pretty good stopping point for me, and I apologize, it's already like 50 minutes long. So when I started this episode tonight, I knew I was like 45 or so minutes away from this swap up here, and I was like, I better go ahead and jump on there so that we'll have plenty of time to actually get enough get enough content out there for you guys. You know, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys found value in what we talked about tonight. Again, LogicShowPodcast@gmail.com for any comments, questions. If you have a topic you want me to cover on one of these Real Talk Tuesdays, feel free to let me know. On the episode descriptions, when I post those, I'm also posting a link now that it's like a tip link for anybody who feels inclined to tip the show, to help support the show, whatever. Would not complain at all, would actually appreciate any and all contributions. Eventually, there are going to be other options out there as well, and I'm still trying to figure out how to go about the advertisements and stuff to try to monetize, because that's always been my goal. Since you hear about these podcast hosts that's what they do full time, like they were able to quit their jobs, that's what they do, they're just a podcast host. Like, well, that'd be awesome, but I don't know how to do that. But eventually I'll get there. Just like eventually I'll be able to have more time to work on my writing stuff and have more writing content out there as well, and including books and all that stuff, and be able to put some stuff out, more stuff out for people to enjoy and stuff. But eventually there is going to be a website. I've already got the domain name, I just haven't figured out the hosting for it and getting the site put together, because I've done HTML in the past, but it's been a long time. But that's my plan, to have a website up there, have even like a P.O. box or something like that, like an actual mailing address for the Blodgett Show if people want to support via sending money orders or checks or whatever. Eventually, this is all stuff that's in the works, but it hasn't actually, aside from the tip link, that one right there is already active and available. It's on the episode descriptions on the last couple episodes. I've started doing that. But as far as the website and stuff like that, and the mailing address and stuff like that, it's all stuff that's like, it's in the work, things I'm thinking about, things I'm planning, it's things that I'm working on to keep pushing forward, to keep making those positive steps towards the goals that I have. Because like I said in previous episodes, I don't plan on going anywhere. I plan to have the I plan to be here with you guys on the Blodgett Show for a long time, and to keep learning and growing and whatever. Like the recent change with making the Fridays instead of Real Talk all the time, it's Real Talk Tuesdays and Storytime Fridays here. And I've also recently started sharing those whenever I do. I'm gonna do a screenshot, sharing them on my Facebook, Twitter X, and Instagram, and even I have an account with another site called another app called UHive. So I'm basically just putting a screenshot of whatever those episodes of Storytime Fridays post. I'm doing a screenshot on Spotify showing the Blodgett Show and then that episode, and then I share that and I do a little caption like the latest Storytime Friday episode is posted, blah blah blah. Feel free to like and follow, check it out, let me know what you think, share with your friends, blah blah blah. And I have noticed an uptick, like just today. I was logging onto my hosting platform to check the downloads and see like how the stats are looking, and like usually on average most days I'll see like 2 or 3, sometimes 4, or as much as 5 downloads on a single day. I logged on today earlier and it was like 17 downloads today. I'm like, holy shit. So like obviously I'm moving in the right direction, and I'm really grateful for that. Grateful for everybody that's tuned in and that's popping on here, and anybody that's been with me for a while. I especially appreciate you guys, but I do appreciate the new people that have jumped on. I hope you guys are enjoying those stories. Hope you guys are finding value in these Real Talk Tuesdays. So on that note, guys, appreciate y'all being here. Keep believing, keep pushing forward, keep doing what you gotta do. Don't give up, don't quit. Even when life gets you down, I know it's hard, but just keep making those steps towards where you want to be in life. You know, that's all you can do. Because I mean, I don't think any of us, especially if we're not happy where we're at, I don't think any of us want to stay at that point in our life, in those circumstances or whatever, and just be like, where all you have is negative thoughts because you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you don't know what you're gonna do, and you don't even know how you're gonna get there, and you don't even feel like even making the effort to get there. But guys, it's worth it in the end. If you push forward and keep trying for it and stuff, eventually you will get there. So on that note, guys, I hope everybody has a good rest of your week, good weekend and I'll see you guys on the next episode, which will be episode 59 for the next round of Storytime Friday on the Blodgett Show. Once again, I'm Chris. I'm your host. Feel free to drop an email to blodgettshowpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to click that to go to that link that's in the show notes or the episode notes. As far as the tips, if you want a tip, it goes out like, I don't know if it was set at like $1, but it's like, I know there was like $5, $10, $20, a couple different amounts. I think you can put a custom amount in there if you wanted to support the show. If not, no big deal. I just appreciate you guys tuning in and listening, because you guys are what I'm here for. So, but anyway, guys, see you guys on Storytime Friday, and have a good rest of your week, and I will talk to you then. Have a good one.